current developments, presidential directives, accurate and reliable updates straight from the palace. Sitting in for Daphne Oseña-Paez, this is Cris Villonco for Malacañang Insider. Protect OFWs and their families. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s marching order is to empower Filipino migrant workers, protect their rights, and promote their welfare. Kasama rin dito ang pagbibigay ng mga serbisyo at programa para mapabuti ang buhay ng ating mga makabagong bayani at kanilang mga pamilya. And to talk more about that, we have with us today Department of Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Cacdac. Good day, sir.
Good
Thank
day,
you
Chris.
so much.
Glad to be here.
Wonderful to see you in this kind of setting since magkasama naman po tayo minsan sa Filipino community events.
Yes, of course.
And you always address our OFWs
Yes,
so
of course.
lovingly.
Always an honor to be there, and with our OFW president, an overwhelming mandate from
Yes.
OFWs for our president in the last elections.
Yes, of course. So, to work together in developing skills of healthcare workers, let's discuss that. Recently, a
Yes.
memorandum of understanding was signed between Singapore and the Philippines on the recruitment of Filipino health workers. What's next after this?
Well, first of all, this could be perhaps the first bilateral labor agreement signed between the Philippines and Singapore. Usually would be on the level of ASEAN multilateral or regional arrangements. So that's a milestone in itself. And the agreement essentially is a measure of protection for our Filipino health workers in Singapore. They already are amply protected, but this one heightens the protection, ensures fair, ethical, and sustainable recruitment for our OFW nurses. There are mutual interest measures such as exchange of experiences and knowledge transfers and scholarships in store for budding nurses who would wish to perhaps work in Singapore, well, work here and then work in Singapore. There is a guarantee of just, fair, and commensurate compensation. Very, very important. Fair treatment, as it is called, of nurses in Singapore, meaning our nurses will be paid similar to their Singaporean nurse counterparts. So there will be no discrimination in that sense. Also, there are measures to effectively reintegrate our nurses. So all told, it's a measure of protection, of safer labor mobility for our nurses, for the mutual interest of both sides, mutual interest of the Singaporean health system as well as the Philippine health system and the Philippine economy.
Wow, so how does the MOU between the Philippines and Singapore specifically aim to address healthcare workforce shortages in Singapore? And what role will Filipino healthcare workers play in filling these gaps?
Yes, that's a very important point. The President always, amongst government officials and agencies and with the private sector, has always emphasized that today's bilateral labor relations, especially with healthcare workers, should not just entail the rights-based approach in terms of protecting the rights of workers, but look at developmental, market development measures, such as ensuring that there will be no dearth of nurses here for our very own healthcare system, as we know from the COVID days, COVID years, that we really, really need healthcare workers. So there are measures to strengthen our labor market in terms of healthcare workers. That is why measures such as scholarships and measures such as partnerships between institutions, whether healthcare or medical or healthcare educational institutions, are in store. After this agreement, there will also be a counterpart agreement with Sected Herbosa and the Singaporean side, with the Singaporean health minister, along these lines as well. So it's not just ensuring fair, safe labor mobility, but also ensuring what you had mentioned, the development of our own talent pool, talent base, so that our healthcare system is spoken for in terms of our healthcare needs.
So how will the MOU impact the recruitment process?
Well, in terms of impacting the recruitment process, impacting it for the better. Already we have a very steady stream of OFWs on a yearly basis, not as much volume as let's say in the Middle East or in Saudi to Singapore, but still we know for sure that the systems can be enhanced hands. So when we say safe, ethical, and fair, ethical, and sustainable recruitment, we mean to say that which ensures that nobody will be victimized with substandard contracts, nobody will be victimized by illegal recruiters and illegal job offers, nobody will be victimized by payment of exorbitant legal fees or recruitment fees. So added protection, and of course the other important dimension to all this, the cooperation of both sides in terms of measures to address complaints or grievances of nurses on site. So we have a labor attaché and an embassy in Singapore, of course, working hand in hand with the DFA, but more so working hand in hand with the Singaporean health and manpower ministries, so that if a worker needs help, needs protection, needs to have an issue addressed, then there's somebody there to listen to him or to her.
So, paano po ito makakatulong, the collaboration na ito sa ilalim ng MOU sa pag-unlad ng healthcare sa Singapore and of course dito din po sa Pilipinas?
Yes, I think mula sa COVID, we've already learned na napakahalaga ng healthcare workers, and in a moment of crisis, there could be a dearth or an absence of healthcare workers or lack of healthcare workers. So it's very important that there is, first and foremost, a secure, a stable labor market here for healthcare workers, that our healthcare educational institutions graduate and train healthcare workers on sufficient basis, that our healthcare workers are held up to a world-class standard, and that is why it's important also for OFW nurses to give back, to reintegrate. There are talks, for instance, on how long-time nurses in Singapore could be able to teach here. In nursing schools where a master's degree could be required. So for OFW nurses in Singapore to obtain master's degrees while they're there or when they come back, so that they're able to teach whatever they learned abroad. So all of these things are in store for us. What's very important is we make sure, once again, based on the President's directive, that this is not just a strictly a recruitment agreement, but also an agreement that will ensure safe recruitment, ethical recruitment, yes, but giving back to our economy, ensuring in our labor market, ensuring that our own healthcare worker labor market is sufficient enough to sustain our healthcare system.
And what about the benefits, let's say, of our OFW healthcare workers in Singapore? Is there also going to be training and development?
Yes, definitely. We have world-class healthcare institutions, hospitals in Singapore, similar to our system here. So definitely there will be training in store for them, and that is why it's important also that the nurses who are trained there are also adequately trained here, so that there is a sense of matching and recognition of the learning of the degrees of the training that our nurses here obtained, and so that whatever they learn here, they will be recognized when they go to Singapore, and they will be hired in accordance with their stature, with their level, with their experience that they had obtained here. And of course, as you mentioned, if they are trained there, in turn, that training will also be brought back here, so that whatever the OFW nurse learned there will be cascaded to our very own nurses.
It's their very own sense of giving back.
Yes, yes, exactly.
That's really wonderful to know. I think we know that, the Filipino healthcare workers are really, not just in Singapore, I mean, we are recognized globally as experts in healthcare, and not just with the commitment and the dedication, but the passion and the actual care that they have for their patients. So I'm pretty sure this will probably, there will be more coming.
Yes.
We will be expecting more. So, but for this one in particular, ano po ba yung dapat ma-expect ng ating mga OFWs kaugnay sa MOU na ito?
ang sa akin ay mas merong kasiguruhan na safe and fair ang labor recruitment process. So kaya't pag sinabi namin, please deal only with licensed recruiters, those recruiters licensed by the DMW, then we mean to say that these are licensed recruiters that with the responsibility and accountability to protect the workers. So they are safe in that sense. So we will be more reassured because we know that we also have counterparts Singaporean support from the other side. So the other thing is there will be adequate, as you mentioned, there will be adequate recognition of whatever credentials or possible training credits that they've obtained here. We will take this up definitely with the Singaporean counterparts. As I said, Sec Ted Arbosa is on board. We are also talking to Chair De Vera and the CHED in charge of medical educational institutions. So there will also be an adequate, should I say, discussion toward the recognition of credentials and training and learnings of OFWs here. And then, as I mentioned, lastly, the reintegration side. While they are there, we will provide them with all the information in terms of an outlook or a path toward the future. The President, every time we go abroad, right, always invites our Filipino communities to come back and appreciate the improvement, the strengthening of our economy by the President's economic team. So we will also be mindful of offering livelihood, business, employment opportunities here so that our nurses can look toward a future where they come back, not just for themselves, but also their families. Because it's possible, for instance, for a nurse to have a child or a relative who is not necessarily in healthcare but may venture into business and other endeavors. So we'll open up all these things. We partnered, for instance, with Sec Kiko and Sec Frasco in agriculture and tourism for those willing or interested in entering into agriculture, tourism related businesses. So all of these will be brought to the fore. We're talking to all the relevant agencies now in a package that can be presented to OFWs, not just the nurses abroad, but everybody else in terms of the business and employment economic outlook in our country. So they come back as the President has so invited them to do so.
Yeah, it's wonderful that all the agencies and departments are coming together to make this possible, all under the presidential directive. So we will return. And when we return, we look at how the Department of Migrant Workers delivers services and programs to improve the lives of our modern day heroes. This and more only here at Malacañang Insider.
At your service, Pilipinas, mula sa Department of Justice, ako po si Yusek Margarita Gutierrez. Samahan niyo kami para sa isang bagong Pilipinas ngayon, dito lang sa PTV.
The Philippines' most historic Olympic campaign. Tunay nga ninyong ipinamalas ang galing at husay ng atletang Pinoy. Congratulations, Team Philippines! Saludo kami sa inyo!
Our power and internet services are continuously being upgraded in both capacity and connectivity. Sa ating free Wi-Fi program, halos 10 milyong unique user devices ang nakikinabang sa libreng internet sa mahigit 13,000 lugar sa buong Pilipinas. Nasasagap ito sa marami nating mga paaralan at mga malalayo at liblib na mga po. Patuloy pa ang ating pinaparami ng mga libreng Wi-Fi sa buong bansa.
PTV Consumer Watch, bantay presyo sa gasolina.
You're still watching Malacañang Insider with Secretary Hans Leo Cacdac. Isa sa mga primary directives ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ay masiguro ang kaligtasan at kapakanan ng mga OFWs. On war conflicts with recent escalating tensions from ongoing conflict between Iran-backed Lebanese paramilitary group Hezbollah and Israeli military, what are the latest updates on this?
Well, yeah, the conflict, of course, emerged on October 7th last year when Hamas entered the territory of the State of Israel, and well, there was a conflict. There were killings, and of course, Israel retaliated. Hezbollah in Lebanon has also been engaged in conflict with the Israeli Defense Forces, and the recent reports say that the situation is tense and could possibly worsen. So over the weekend, the Philippine ambassador to Beirut issued an advisory asking Filipinos there to be repatriated, to come home. Since October last year, the President has already directed us to open up the lines of communication as well as our repatriation services. So we've been delivering free repatriation services and on-site monitoring for the protection of OFWs. And in Lebanon, there have been around 356 returnees. In fact, there was a group of 15 who arrived over the weekend. But there is another group of 45 that is set to arrive possibly later this week. They're now going through immigration authorities in Lebanon. Around 1,000 had applied, but 45 said they are ready to go home. We continue to monitor the situation. There are crisis plans that are in place and ready to be implemented should the situation worsen. But for now, the call is for our workers to come home. It's alert level 3 imposed by the DFA in Lebanon, which means it's second to the highest. There is an absolute ban on deployment of workers there, and also voluntary repatriation. That's why, hence the announcement of the ambassador over the weekend. We also have a shelter prepared already because the strategy is on-site in-country evacuation prior to eventual repatriation. So we stand ready as directed by the President, not just there but even here. We will receive them in a whole of government team designated by the President to do so.
So po, can we have yung panawagan po sa mga OFWs sa Lebanon na nais umuwi sa bansa? Saan ba sila pwedeng magpunta o tumawag?
Yes, meron tayong hotlines na inanunsyo yung ating ambassador, embahada sa Beirut. But for here, for DMW OWA, the hotline is simply 1348. 1348. If outside the country, it's +632-1348. But that hotline co-shared by Admin Arnel Ignacio and the OWA would be enough for the relatives, the loved ones of our OFWs in Lebanon and the OFWs themselves to state their issues, their requests, and we will respond accordingly.
So please tandaan po natin yan, 1348.
1348 is
so
the
that's for
hotline
here, and then if you are abroad, it's +632-1348.
Yes, and there are other specific hotlines mentioned by the ambassador, by the embassy in Beirut. So I would suggest to please look up the hotlines announced in their Facebook page, and we also have our own Lebanon help desk at the DMW. So we have a team there meant to help those in need.
Yes, I would like to commend your department and also as well as OWA for constantly updating your social media pages. And I can see that there are so many people who respond for help and everything else. But of course, there's always the concern about families. So paano po ba ma-assure ang mga kaanak o pamilya ng mga OFWs dito sa Pilipinas na wala silang dapat ikabahala sa kaligtasan ng kanilang mahal sa buhay sa Lebanon?
Yes, ang assurance po natin, tutulungan po natin kayong lahat. Yan ang utos ng ating mahal na Pangulo na bigyan kayong sapat na proteksyon at isaayos ang inyong welfare and well-being, lalo na dyan sa Lebanon. So meron tayong labor attaché in Beirut and he is right now in the process of communicating together with the ambassador, communicating with our Filipino communities there. There are 11,360 OFWs in Lebanon Lebanon, most of them in the central part in Beirut. The conflict right now, we know, is at the southern border, northern Israel and southern Lebanon. No Filipinos are there. They've been evacuated. However, there is still some southern cities with some Filipinos there, so we're in direct contact with them.
So aside from everything that is being done by both parties actually to bring them home, to bring the OFWs home, ano po ba yung mga maibibigay na assistance sa pag-uwi nila ng mga OFWs dito sa Pilipinas?
Oh, that's a very good question, because I said the President, right from the get-go last October, met with all the relevant agencies, met us all and directed us to come together in a whole-of-government approach in terms of assisting returning workers. The help extended to returning workers, especially in war-torn areas such as Lebanon and with the state of war in Israel, is unprecedented. We provide financial assistance. It used to be 50,000 from DMW and 50,000 on the OWA side, but last week the President asked us to review the rates, and so we increased from 50 to 75 each, so it'll be 150,000 from DMW OWA for returning OFWs from Lebanon. And there will be assistance also, since it's whole of government. SecTed at BOSA and his DOH team are there to provide immediate medical checkups, including psychosocial counseling. SecRex Gatchalian and the DSWD are there to provide financial assistance and livelihood assistance. And TESDA, then DG Mahudadato and now DG Benitez are providing well, they are sort of, they're vouchers where the returning OFW can choose the training program, skills upgrading program they would wish to enter into, including the institution, for free. And with that, the DMW OWA does also provide livelihood assistance, and as I said, TA, Agriculture, and the DOT are there as well. So the options are all laid before a returning worker, so it's up to the worker. Meron ding entrepreneurship training provided by DTI, so if they're not yet secure enough or at least not prepared to enter into business, we can also put forward training programs for them.
Okay, let's talk about this as a whole. No? The Department of Migrant Workers, how are the DMW's current programs addressing the challenges faced by OFWs, such as illegal recruitment, exploitation, in line with the President's mandate?
We have a robust illegal recruitment, anti-illegal recruitment and anti-human trafficking program right now. We had just recently our 13th establishment closure. We shut down illegal recruitment establishments. To give you an idea, last year it was 7 for the entire year, so we have 13 this August, so we're braced to double our efforts. We also have convictions in regular regional trial courts. Recently, we retained our Tier 1 U.S. State Department ranking in the anti-trafficking in persons effort. It's the 8th consecutive year, but we retained our Tier 1 standing just recently, which means we are doing well, higher than the global standard in terms of combating illegal recruitment and human trafficking. So the effort goes on online. We've taken down around 30,000 or so Facebook online illegal job offers, and similar number in TikTok. We were the first to be allowed to do so in both Facebook and TikTok, to engage in takedowns of what we perceive to be illegal recruitment sites.
And these takedowns were very quick and efficient.
Yes, very quick and efficient, and we're thankful to both Facebook and TikTok. And the effort continues. I mean, we will not rest, because there will still be those who will attempt to recruit illegally. Kaya ang payo namin, pagka online ang recruitment, if you doubt a person recruiting you face to face, then all the more will you doubt a person recruiting you online. So that's our basic piece of advice. Among other pieces of advice to fight illegal recruitment, let me throw in one more. When there is no work visa showed, when there is no license from the MW showed by the recruiter, when it is recruitment done not in an office, confines of an office, but in a public place like a mall or a park or what have you, then all of these are badges of illegal recruitment, because a legal recruiter will have a license, will ensure that everybody leaves with a work visa, and will have an office displaying prominently their DMW recruitment license number.
And usually po, on social media, what are the giveaways for fake recruiters? I'm assuming they're like, there's not much information.
The giveaway, well, first of all, it's basic that when one recruits online, there's already something wrong there, because somebody's hiding under the shadows and would not would not want to be recognized or identified. A fairly common online illegal recruitment perpetrator would have a common name, a common name that is similar to thousands and hundreds of thousands. So it's very difficult to search for that person online. Another one is asking for money up front. Is a very, very distinct badge of illegal recruitment. Somebody who will say, "Oh, bilis, magbayad ka na, isa na lang ang ticket, isa na lang upuan sa aeroplano, sasara na yung offer, bukas wala na ito, magbayad ka na ng 20, 30, 40, 50, up to 100,000, even more." So that's another badge of illegal recruitment. Somebody online lurking in the shadows, ayaw magpakilala, generic ang pangalan, sometimes fake pa yung profile picture.
Yeah, sometimes kinukuha pa nila sa yung mga ibang legal.
Real people or celebrities.
Yeah.
Okay? And then, yun nga, umihingi na, nagpe-pressure na magbayaran siya upfront.
Okay, sir. President Marcos Jr. vows to boost retraining programs for returning OFWs. What measures are being implemented by the DMW to enhance skills training and job matching to reintegrate them into the local workforce?
Yes, we're fully on board with the President's directive. The TESDA is the main government agency there, and we recently signed a partnership agreement with TESDA. First, there will be direct referrals similar to the returnees from war-torn areas to the TESDA, so that they have direct access to free retraining or training upon arrival or skills upgrading of OFWs. They will choose the courses they want to take, automotive, welding, caregiving, and all those other courses, and the institutions. If they live in the provinces and there's a training institution there that they're familiar with, they can very well choose that, and it's all for free. The second one is recognition of skill sets that OFWs already have. That's why we're partnering with TESDA in terms of accrediting, or should I say assessing the skills. No more training, but they can be assessed in terms of, for instance, a long-standing, let's say, a cook in a restaurant in Dubai would have sufficient skill sets but never went through formal training, but is world class. Can happen. So the TESDA goes over there and assesses the skills of that person and provides a training, a certification of the skills of the worker, so he or she can carry that certification.
Yeah, we all know stories
around.
about, let's say, dishwasher, tapos naging sous chef na,
Yes.
naging, diba? There are stories like that.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Welding is another kind. Somebody who may have just spent maybe 5, 10, 15 years in a construction company in Saudi, but acquired the skill of a welder and a good one at that. So again, we can have them certified by the TESDA, so that there's a proper, should I say, assessment and certification of their skill standards that again they can use when they're there or when they come home here and to work for a construction company. So these things are among the measures that we're looking at. The other thing is similar to the point made about Singapore. Perhaps we could have an arrangement with, let's say, a Singaporean institution or a foreign foreign employer who could have specific educational or training requirements here, and have that employer touch base with a training institution here, so that the proper skills can be acquired here for free, and of course mindful of our own talent pool and talent base. So that way we also develop a talent pool and talent base that is world class. Hindi lang para dun sa specific employer na yon, pero kung alam na natin yung standard ng employer na yon, o ng employers o ng governments abroad, at least maaangat natin yung training standards that could be suitable for employment here as well as in abroad.
You have a lot on your plate, Sec. I
Yes.
can see that.
Yes.
And we know that. But are there, if you are free to say, are there any other new programs or initiatives that the DMW plans to implement for our OFWs?
Well, one basic and yet challenging endeavor we're getting into is improving our facilities here and abroad. We have the National Maritime Polytechnic that was established during Marcos Sr.'s administration in Tacloban, when a project of the First Lady at the time, that we wish to modernize so that, again, our seafarers can be held to they're already held to a world-class standard, but to further train the local seafarers based on a world-class standard. So that's one. And two, our shelters abroad. We wish to modernize and transform them to centers of excellence and training and should I say places or venues where OFWs, Filipino communities could come together and socialize and train and have different types of courses that they could have to enhance their skills, recreational perhaps facilities also along those lines. So improvement of our shelters and our what we call migrant workers resource centers under the law. It's really a lot more than just a distressed workers shelter facility that we're looking at. Of course, we will still be mindful of distressed workers who need shelter abroad, but improvement of our shelters would be another one that we're looking at. Perhaps another measure would be improvement of our legal assistance services. Last year, we inherited the legal assistance program of the DFA, so it's been a year since July this year. So we wish to have to hold our hired lawyers abroad to a higher standard. Recently, we had some good news in the sense that we have convictions of perpetrators of OFW victims abroad. In various cases, physical injury cases and rape cases. So we are mindful of the progress in terms of our drive to achieve justice, obtain justice for our OFWs who need such abroad. So we're strengthening our legal assistance program, hiring more lawyers, hiring in-house and external counsel, having more paralegals, having more Sharia lawyers on the Islamic side. So we wish to boost and hold our legal assistance services to a higher metric, a higher standard as well, so we deliver quality services to our workers, among the many things that we plan to do, Chris.
The very many things that I can see that you know firsthand and that you're doing. So once again, Department of Migrant Workers Secretary Leo Cacdac, thank you so much for gracing us today. Thank you for your time, actually, with everything that you have listed out right here and mentioned. Thank you for your passion, your dedication, and commitment to taking care of our overseas Filipino workers.
Thank you for having me, and it's great to see you again, Chris, and hope to see you in the foreign trips of the President abroad. And yes, we will continue. We will soldier on to further help our OFWs. We owe it this much to our OFWs and to our OFW President.
Yes. Ang Department of Migrant Workers ay itinuturing na tahanan ng OFWs. Kaya hangad ng ahensya ang patuloy na pagbibigay proteksyon para matiyak ang kanilang kaligtasan, masiguro ang kapakanan at mapangalagaan ang mga karapatan. Kaisa ng bawat OFW ang DMW sa pag-abot ng kanilang mga pangarap para sa sarili, sa pamilya at sa bayan. Mabuhay ang makabagong bayani. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you in-depth views of the latest issues and regular palace updates. Sitting in for Daphne Oseña-Paez, this is Cris Villonco for Malacañang Insider. Have a great day.